Skinamarink, dinky dink, Skinamarink, doo. I love you.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Hallow Horror Pod. I'm your horror host, Ghost from the Upper Left Coast, and tonight we are going to go on some tangential tangents. We are going to look across terrifying thresholds as we step into the space of liminal horror. As I'm trapped in here in some sort of strange yellow or blue shaded purgatory staring up at a Dutch angle of a door frame, I'm not alone. I am joined by author and returning guest Joseph Wilkie. How are you?
Doing good. Thanks again for having me on the show.
Always appreciate having you on the program. And we're joined by somebody whose voice you're going to hear a lot of in the coming months, Kellie from the Final Girls podcast. Tell us about the Final Girls podcast and how are you, Kellie?
I'm great. Except that we were just talking about how hot it's getting already, so that's fun. But no, yeah, I'm good. Final Girls podcast, which I co-host with my sister-in-law, Sarah, is a weekly podcast. We drop on Wednesdays and we talk about, yes, the final girl trope in horror movies. So we cover a different final girl in every episode. Full spoilers for the episodes, so don't listen to one if you haven't seen the movie yet and still want to. But we cover all range of final girls, from your Ripleys to your Sydneys to your Kirstys, and then many that probably don't deserve to be on our list, but they are anyway because we wanted to talk about the movie. And yeah, we've been doing that for a little over a year now, and it's super, super great. So come check us out at Final Girls Podcast on Blue Sky, or Final Girls The Podcast on Instagram, or final-girls.com.
That's always the Instagram one is the one that always hangs me up. I keep calling you Final Girls the podcast because that's the Instagram handle. But
I know.
that is...
I always have Sarah give the handles because I never remember them. I always stumble over them. But yeah, I'm sure that was because the other one was taken. There are a few podcasts out there called Final Girls. So just look for ours with kind of like the jagged lettering, and it's like yellow and pinkish kind of. So.
Yep. Who is your favorite final girl?
Mine's controversial because she's a little bit villainous. That's a minor spoiler. It is Linda from Send Help. So
that's
can I teach you how to be a true shill? Are you ready?
Yes.
Ian, can you ask that question again? But let's pretend that I'm Kellie for a second.
Yeah. This is great. I love this role play improv that we're doing here. Who is your favorite final girl?
Why, Ian, you would have to tune in to the Final Girl podcast to find out, because we have an extensive library where we go over it all. But I do bring it up every single episode, dropping every single Wednesday at this time, at this date.
I appreciate the lesson on shilling. Yes, I'm not that. Like, Sarah does all of our social media stuff, so I'm like not the promo-minded version. But yes, since I already spoiled it, feel free to come listen to our Send Help episode, and you can hear me rave about my girl Linda. So
there you go. I'm on a podcast, so I'm in full used car salesman mode right now.
Absolutely, as we have to be, you know. Yeah, and what do you have going on right now, Joseph? What's happening over in your world of the literary spectrum?
It is too much to count, and there's also the best advice I ever got was from my favorite murder, which is never brag about anything that hasn't been produced yet, because then you're just being really boring. A lot of what's the phrase? Stokes in the fire, irons in the fire right now. A lot of which I can't talk about. I would say for now, when this comes out, Greenhouse of Doom has been officially announced. We haven't launched the Kickstarter yet, but if you want to know when we do go live, go look up Greenhouse of Doom on Kickstarter.com and click follow. You will be notified when we go live. I'm also doing season 3 of Seattle Scares for this little TV show you may have heard of called the Halloween Horror Hour. It's pretty cool. We're going to be filming that next month, and it's going to go on TV.
Yep, absolutely will. Yeah, and I have House of Doom and Coffee House of Doom. This is the third in the series, right? I'm not missing one?
Okay. Nope, this will be our third one.
All right, and my Coffee House of Doom was signed by you, so that's fancy.
I'm not going to sign the other one, then.
Yeah, you do have to sign my House of Doom as well. And my Greenhouse of Doom when I eventually get that.
Not only will that get signed, it'll be hand-delivered to you.
I appreciate that so much, sir. Thank you so much. Yes, so Halloween Horror Hour, you can watch us on Tubi and YouTube. Head on over to our Patreon. I'm sure all these people have Patreons too. Check out their things. we probably recommend the Final Girls podcast as one of our like friends on Patreon. We learned how we could do that with our mutual friend Halloween is Forever a few months ago, that you could recommend other shows on Patreon. So we went ahead and did that. All right. So why are we joined here today, and why is everything such a monotone yellow color, and why are there so many humming fluorescent bulbs like we're working in a late 90s retail store? I mean, it's the reason for the season. We're taking a shortcut through the Backrooms. This conversation that we're going to have today is about liminal horror. And just to set some groundwork, liminal, it comes from the ancient Latin word of limen, which means threshold. Liminal, as we know it today, is usually a place that exists between two places. In magic ritual or in like spiritual ritual, it is often the place that you are in as the ritual has started but not completed, and you have shed your old self but not become your new self. I think a lot of what liminal horror, and I'm open to all sorts of other ideas, but this is my perception of what liminal horror has kind of meant since the YouTubes really started picking it up around like 2008. It's kind of an analog, nostalgic, off feeling of places that have been abandoned and or changing, that still exist, but kind of feel out of time at this point. And I think a lot of this is actually kind of comes from the fact that technology has changed so rapidly. So for people in their like late teens to early 40s, we've experienced such drastic changes in such a short amount of time, whether that's millennials experiencing like the rise of the internet, the financial crisis, all of that, or Gen Z and Gen Alpha experiencing, a lot of their physical or third places going away because of the pandemic. And there's just a lot. You can't have a McDonald's or a Pizza Hut that looks like a McDonald's or a Pizza Hut anymore, because if that building then goes back on the market, it's about retail. So everything has become this gray blandness, and the things that we knew existed at one point have kind of all been homogenized and are empty spaces now. So I think it's a little bit of that nostalgia layered on this like uncanny valley that we're living in as we experience change. How do you all feel about that definition of liminal horror?
That was very thorough. I was just going to say, to your point, I've heard it described as it's like a place of transition where the transition itself never completes or resolves. And so it's like you said, like being stuck in time or being stuck out of place. And I think that's why you see a lot of liminal horror that deals with places that are meant to kind of like transport you from one location to another, like subway, exit, or hallways, things that normally you would just move right through, but instead you don't have that option. And then also, yeah, the sense of like the definition of eerie, which is the absence where you would expect presence, or the presence where you would expect absence, which I really liked to kind of sum up that as well. It's like if you're in the back rooms, you probably hope that there's nothing there, but when you find out there is something there, that's when it's scary. Or if you're in like a shopping mall with all the lights on, then you would expect there to be people there. So if there's not, then that's scary. So
Very well said. I loved your definition, Ian, as well. It kind of really just clicked for me how this genre exists exclusively as a way for us to cope with the world that we grew up on being gone. You really like talk about nostalgia, and that was like a really, really heavy thing, especially for the Backrooms. When I first saw the movie, saw the web series and everything, and how a lot of the imagery taken from that is rooted in nostalgia for a world that's not here anymore.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
and one of the reasons that like the three of us are here together is because Joseph and I were both raving over Backrooms specifically,
Oh my god.
and how it really like kind of scratched an itch for us. And so Ian, I'm also curious to hear like more of your opinion on Backrooms. I know you didn't rate it as highly as we did, but
So
yeah, it is a
so
fun concept to explore.
let's dive into Backrooms first, because that's the reason everyone's here. We can go into kind of our backlog and like history with liminal horror, and I love Backrooms. Like, don't get me wrong, it's just that we were absolutely spoiled in the month of May when it came
Yeah,
to horror
true.
movies.
Yep.
And between Hokum, Obsession, and the Backrooms, it was just absolutely incredible. And I just think that Hokum and Obsession did a little bit more for me as far as horror movies go. I really, really, really appreciate Backrooms. I appreciate the director. I appreciate his outlook on filmmaking. And, I've listened to
Mhm.
a bunch of his music over the last week. I've watched a bunch of his short films and series. And I think what Kane Parsons is doing is he's very specifically creating this world. And if he never directed another movie again because he was more interested in continuing this world building that he's been doing, all the more power to him. He's
He
accomplished it
made
all
his
at this
mark.
point. So
Yeah, he
Yep.
already made his mark. It's fucking insane.
yeah.
Yeah, I keep hearing people say oh, it makes me feel so unaccomplished because he's 20 fucking years old. But we can curse here, right?
This is a family show, so please, just kidding, just kidding, just kidding.
It's the
I was-
family from Skinamarink show, so it's okay
Oh
that we
God,
swear.
we'll get
Yeah,
into
so they're
that
already
too.
every family here is already dead.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, let me be clear. I loved all three of the movies, Obsession, Hokum, and Backrooms. I had a really great time with all of them. It's just that Backrooms is the only one that I saw in the theater more than once. And it's because I was so intrigued by, yes, the directing style, the lore, the imagery. I wanted to see everything that I missed the first time when I was kind of caught up in the story. And I just think the production design is just out of this world, literally. So
And I haven't seen Hokum yet, so I'm just gonna take your word for it. That's pretty good. I
also
saw
great. Yes.
Obsession, loved it. Obsession was great. Backrooms felt like it was made for me personally.
Yep.
I tried telling my friend who's a huge David Lynch fan to go see Backrooms, and when she was
Oh,
asking me what it's about,
same.
I was like, "Okay, you remember in Twin Peaks all those weird transition shots where it's owls and stoplights and shit? Imagine an entire movie that's just that."
Totally. That's funny because I'm a huge David Lynch fan also and a huge Twin Peaks fan. And yeah, this just gets me right exactly what I'm hoping to see. And Sarah and I did a mini Patreon episode about this, about both of them. I don't know if you guys have seen the meme going around. Do you guys remember Barbenheimer?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So that this combination of movies, Backrooms and Obsession, is Barbenheimer for sickos. And so it's you should see both in the same day. And so we talked about a bit about it, but yeah, I could talk about it all day.
I have a theory that liminal horror is for sickos and weirdos. You've already brought up how much you love David Lynch. This is our first time interacting, right? So, my theory totally hinges on how you felt about Skinamarink, and you don't have to talk about it now. I don't want to just derail this conversation entirely. However, when we do get to that topic, I'm interested to hear your thoughts.
I do think the relationship between liminal horror and David Lynch is incredibly important because I think David Lynch was producing liminal horror for Gen X and millennial people and boomers that got it really before this iteration of everything that's happening. And I think, we're recording this before Leviticus drops next week, or this Thursday, actually.
Yeah.
So by the time you're hearing this episode, another Gen Z kind of low budget movie about relationship trauma is going to hit the theaters, and I've heard nothing but rave reviews for it too. But it looks incredibly depressing. So after these two movies, I might be going to see The Death of Robin Hood before I go see Leviticus this weekend to just kind of balance myself out. But I do think the relationship between the imagery, the symbolism, the low level spirituality that goes on with David Lynch stuff
Yeah.
and the Backrooms is definitely there. So why is this movie resonating so much for you? What is it about the plot or the imagery or the film craft that is really calling to the both of you?
I went into this expecting a Saturday morning cartoon because I didn't really watch any of the previews. My expectations weren't low, but I was expecting we're gonna go through some creepy hallways and there's gonna be a spooky monster that's gonna go ooga booga booga, and that was gonna be it. And I got what was probably the closest I will ever get to a live action adaptation of Silent Hill 2, where all of the scares are very subliminal. All of the characters are way deeper than they first appear, and I mean, it's just too much to talk about what like really resonates with me. I've only seen it once a few weeks ago. I've thought about it every single day since seeing it, and my life depends on seeing it again. So I need to go see it here fairly soon.
Yeah, well said. I think for me, it's also, I mean, my expectations were low, but my hopes were high because I've always really liked the concept of Backrooms, but it didn't feel like there was any way that this could be good. And, I know we'll talk about Exit a bit more later too, but that it was another one where it felt like this doesn't feel like something that is going to translate well into a cinema experience. And I was happy to be wrong about both, but Backrooms, yeah, there's a lot of depth there, but also just coming at it from the perspective of someone who enjoys horror movies. I think that that persistent feeling of dread that you get while watching the movie, and then it doesn't have to rely on jump scares, where there's a couple that got me, I'm not gonna lie, but like it's just about the unease and that lingering feeling of something's off, something's not right. And then it's like a lot more overt at times, obviously. I think that surrealism in horror always works really, really well for me because it's scary. You don't know what to expect. You can't anticipate like what you'll see next. And so it's the unknown that is the most disturbing part, is then that being made real. And it also resonated with me just because the kind of like chase sequences that they do in the movie reminded me a lot of a sequence from one of my other favorite movies of all time, which is not a horror movie, and that's Eternal Sunshine.
Ooh.
I fucking love that movie, and that movie does some very similar things where, in this kind of mindscape, you're running through like the hallways don't make sense, the people, their faces that you see, they don't make sense, and you're just trying to like make it from one place to another, but it's like the space itself is making that almost impossible or just like confusing. And I love that stuff because I think having watched so much horror at this point, it's so easy to recognize patterns over and over. And then there were a couple times in this movie even where I was like, oh, they're going this direction. And then they would revert and go the other way. And so I think that that's just something I have really come to appreciate, not being able to just like anticipate every beat as it's about to happen. I like being surprised.
You brought up like chase scenes and everything. That ending chase scene felt like right out of a nightmare. Like that is the closest we will ever get to a real dream being caught on film.
I
When
love that. And that's very Lynchian
Yep.
because, I'm really glad you brought up David Lynch earlier because it's like David Lynch, his movies weren't horror movies, but they were horrific. And some of the David Lynch movies are the scariest, like non-horror movies you could ever see. I mean, fucking Eraserhead, fucking Mulholland Drive. They all have sequences that are just going to stick with you in the most uncomfortable way. And I think that's what these sequences do also.
That scene where she's running up from the pirate monster in that like bottomless pit right next to a staircase with no safety
Ugh.
rail on it.
So scary.
And the door is in the ceiling as she's getting
And she pulls the door and it falls off and it like falls into the abyss, like just to make it a little extra
You
scary.
never hear it hit the ground.
Exactly. There is no ground.
So what do we think this movie is about? And I'm happy to posit my idea first. And I think there's some other people that have probably said similar things to what I would say this movie is about, which I believe it is kind of like this physicality or like location building of things that we have, internalized, whether it is physical spaces that are just kind of going away, trauma that like maybe we've even gone to therapy and we've dealt with this trauma, but it has to be compartmentalized and put somewhere. And that is what is creating the back rooms, or as we talk about Lynch, I'm beginning to call it the Yellow Lodge in my mind. But
Perfect.
but that is what I would that's like the big overarching theme of what the back rooms is in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, Ian, you said that you had gone down the YouTube rabbit hole here. I have a bit. I kind of wanted to like, although I've seen Kane Parsons' like original short, and I've seen like a lot of the surrounding lore that spawned from 4chan like way back when. I tried not to gather up too much info before going into the movie because I just kind of like to puzzle things out. And so I think that you might have more perspective than we do on the actual like official lore that's on display, but in terms of what I think, just seeing the movie without that other stuff, it's very similar to what you said. It's like the nature of trauma, like how we process trauma, and then also just the nature of memories in general. And this sense that every time you remember something, you're not actually remembering that thing, you're just remembering your last memory of that thing. And so it's that copy of a copy of a copy that just like goes down the line and starts to get more and more distorted. I have memories of my childhood that like are probably completely different than how they were when they actually occurred. And so, how do you, it's the whole thing that they talk about in the movie with like trying to describe a dog to someone who's never seen a dog and then telling them to draw it. And they're going to get some things right. And then other things are just going to be a complete abomination. So, yeah, we have two very like fucked up people as the central characters in the movie. And they're both kind of working through that, except that one of the subversions that I really like about the movie is that Clark decides, I'm good with how I am. I don't want to change. And I love that. So
I like to think of this movie as a bit of a Rorschach test. Everybody who watches it is going to have their own interpretation of it, get something out of it, and it ties back to one of the liminal horror things of Mario 64 and how every copy of that was personalized. And so everybody's probably going to have their own personal interpretation and dumping their own trauma into it. As far as what it means, though, I couldn't tell you at all. I know what it means to me. I love how we brought up Clark as this character. Clark refuses to change, but he also thinks that he's like the master of this world already. He thinks he knows what it is. He's the one talking about how he's the one that came up with the it's like describing a dog to somebody who's never seen a dog. He has that theory about how it's like it's memories repeating. And then when we get to the scientists at the end, the ones that actually this is their job to research it, I was expecting a full-on expo dump that was going to be like exactly like the end of Hereditary, where it just ruined that, right? But it did exactly what I wanted it to do, which is the main scientist guy just throws his arms up and goes, I don't fucking know.
I'm so glad you said that, because the ending of this movie, which is like the most divisive part of the movie, is like what made me like really clinched it for me as like, fuck yes, that's exactly what I wanted. Because I did the exact same thing when they got to the scientists and they started to explain things. I was thinking like, oh no, you're gonna ruin it. Like pull back.
5, we discovered this alternative dimension that we're calling the back. Yeah, I was expecting that for like 5 minutes straight, and then they're just like, I don't fucking know.
He's like, we have theories, and then the movie just starts to fade out, and then it just ends on this horrific image of Mary, and
The most
and then
horrific, depressing image possible. Yes.
it's so depressing, and it just leaves the audience sitting there, kind of still in the liminal space, just thinking like, what the fuck? Okay, I guess that's all we're getting. I love that. I love that ending.
It was so good.
So actually, that ending where we get Mark Duplass from the creep tapes of his Peach Fuzz fame, and recently his big defense of Kane Parsons on the social medias, where he called out people for saying that Kane was only shadow directing this. So
Can we take a moment? By the way, I'm sorry. What a fucking cope!
Seriously, yeah.
You have to be such an untalented piece of shit to even think of and spread that rumor around.
For real.
Yeah,
Seriously.
that's so frustrating. But Mark Duplass was great. His response was absolutely fantastic. But I think his character as that scientist really like shows us the juxtaposition between these two kinds of like internet things that have become these movie phenomena, right? So we have this liminal space stuff that is going on, which Skinamarink went 100% in the liminal space realm. And then we have, the SEC or SCP. I don't know what that stands for. Everyone else does. Secure something, whatever.
It's Secure, Contain, Protect.
Secure, Pertain, Protect. And this is like a series of stories or creepypastas that, I think the Endless IKEA is an early SCP story, which is very Backrooms coded. where a guy gets lost in an IKEA. He can't find his way out. IKEA, of course, is a giant furniture store, sells meatballs. But but that is one of the early SCPs. Is like the guy just got lost in this building and they never were able to find him. So SCP is like kind of this global intelligence agency that tries to capture phenomena. And there's been podcasts and creepy pastas, and then there's like the No Sleep podcast, I think, is mostly SCP stuff. And then they've made some short films. I'm sure there's tons of them out there. So Backrooms was kind of riding this line of like, do we go like full into liminal space, which I think Kane Parsons leans a little bit more into personally, versus this like SCP aspect, which I think the person who rewrote the script was a little bit more, gung ho on doing this kind of like having a narrative and having like a story kind of aspect, which is where you get Mark Duplass. And the opening found footage scene where there's like the people in control. So how do we feel about those two separate things? Are we fans of SCP? Are we fans of Skinamarink? Let's start with SCP because it's a little bit older. How familiar are you both with SCP?
I have to admit, I am not familiar with it whatsoever. To me, it's one of those things that always just popped up in my YouTube recommendations, but I've never really done like a deep dive onto any of these subjects or anything. The closest I have come to real contact with SCP, there's a video game I love called Control, and that is very heavily influenced by SCP.
Joseph, did we just become best friends?
We've always been best friends. It's just that we've only met today.
You can't see it right now because it's blurred, but actually I have a display back there that is Jesse from Control. That's so funny. That's exactly what I was going to say as my introduction to SCP conceptually as well.
I'm sorry I stole your pick, but that's what you get
What?
for having good taste.
No, I'm with you, dude. Like, hell yeah, love Control. But that's such a perfect. I always hear people say that is like the SCP game that they always wanted but never got, and it's it's not like official, but it's absolutely that.
Well, SCP is kind of like Backrooms in the way of like what even is official. You know what I mean? Nobody owns the copyright for SCP. There's no company that owns the copyright to Backrooms. That's why I think it's like so interesting, this kind of internet IP thing that we're in right now, which is like you and I could just go make our own Backrooms movie and call it The Backrooms if we wanted to, right?
Now to get us back on track. So now that we've gone on our first tangential tangent, we're supposed to do a lot of those this episode. I'm totally okay with that. How do people feel about Skinamarink?
Loved it. Here's the thing. This movie was made by sickos, for sickos. You have to... Skinamarink's biggest sin is that it broke containment, right? This was for weirdo freaks like me that loved watching analog horror at like 2 a.m. every single night, or had access to public access television and watched a whole bunch of weird shit on that. Part of me feels like I appreciate the movie more than I actually like it, because I saw this in theaters. I've never seen anything like it before in my life. I probably never will see anything like this ever again. And if I do see something like this, it's because something is trying to rip off Skinamarink instead of being its own thing. I heard somebody describe Skinamarink as, imagine the last 10 minutes of the Blair Witch Project stretched out to the entire movie. And that is exactly how I felt. It was very bold, different. If you're the type of person who needs like the plot being spoon-fed to you, if you need to know what's really happening the entire time, obviously this is not your kind of movie. However, a deranged sicko such as myself, I love this one.
Ian, I want to hear yours first.
Okay, I will happily go first. I just rewatched Skinamarink for the third time. I did not see it in theaters, and I'm actually pretty thankful about that, because I believe the correct way to watch this movie is with headphones on a laptop. Basically like you're watching a YouTube video that is going to get shut down before, too long, but like you made it in under the radar, so you get to see it there for the first time. So this felt very internet culture-y. And I've watched it 3 times now, and I don't hate it. It's not my favorite movie. I think it's very interesting. I say this about every movie, but it could be about 30 minutes shorter. But I do really appreciate it, and especially watching it again on this really hot afternoon in my basement, which is like the only room in my house that gets good AC. It was it was very nice to cool down with all of those shades of blue and all the Fleischer cartoons and that telephone toy with the eyes that everyone I knew had as a child that you could like pull around on the wheels. And being a latchkey kid myself and like being an oldest brother and like it's real. Like it hits all those beats really, really well. But it also like I think it does lean on some of the analog stuff a little too hard, where I think there are some YouTube analog horror creators that have done some things that paced a little bit better. You know, spending a lot of time just like looking at the static grain that's supposed to be recreated from like an old CRT or even an old tube TV with this like tape play on it. And like there are things happening in the static, but that is a lot to ask a viewer for an hour and 40 minutes. And I absolutely respect that. And when IFC and our distributor, Bayview, who also distributed Skinamarink, they really laid on that marketing campaign and they got it in all the theaters and they told everyone this is an amazing movie. And a lot of people were not prepared to sit there for, 2+ hours watching a lot of static and fuzz. So, Kelly, how is your rapport with Skinamarink?
See, I'm at a disadvantage here because I'm the only person with my camera on, and so you guys can see my non-poker face about things. But I respect Skinamarink, but I do not like Skinamarink. And I hope that now, Joseph, hear me out. Because I think that we have similar tastes, but and I want to be clear that like I think it's come across so far that I'm not someone who likes plots spoon-fed to me or anything. Like I like to figure things out and I like to be confused so that I can like figure it out later and really think it over. This movie did not hit me in that way, and I wanted to love it. And I watched it the quote unquote right way. And I watched it alone and I watched it in the dark and I was fully locked in and I really wanted it to click for me. This one did not do it for me. And yeah, maybe Ian, it's partly because, like you said, it's too long. I know it's based on a short film and it probably works better that way, in my opinion. I give props to the fact that they did something completely different. You know, like you guys are saying, you've never seen anything like it before. And if you see something like it, it's probably going to be some pale imitation of this. I think part of the reason we don't see a lot of this is because it doesn't work for most people. And I feel like I'm someone who it should have worked on. It's totally my type of thing, but it didn't do it for me.
You are entitled to your own opinion, so that is fine. Even when it's wrong. Sorry, I had to. No, it's understandable because it's not a movie for like not even general audiences.
It's barely a movie at all, to be honest. But
it's an abstract piece of cinema.
It's extremely abstract. Yes. And like I said, I respect it for that. I just don't enjoy watching it.
I was gonna say that was like the magical word for me there to like let you get away with this, is that you actually respect it for what it is and can realize how special it is. I've had like full on screaming matches with people being like, the movie was dumb because like nothing happened. Like, how come I don't even see anybody's face?
Yeah, no, it's very unique.
Okay, if you didn't see anybody's face, you failed to watch the movie because there are 3 faces that show up in its 2-hour runtime.
Yeah, the
I hear
telephone?
You though. Or the telephone. Goddamn telephone.
Yeah, there's the telephone's face, there's Kaylee's face, and there's the unnamed.
The mom's lack of face.
Yeah, the mom's lack of face for the like final like 2 minutes of the film, just staring at you through a field of static.
That's true.
It's one of those like you just triggered this memory of like the first time watching Skinamarink in that theater as it is building up to that face reveal of the mom and how she doesn't have any like eyeballs or skin or anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm on the edge of my seat. This is probably the most scared I have ever felt watching a movie. And the guy in front of me, I just hear him go because he fell asleep and he's snoring and he just killed the mood for myself and like everybody there.
Oh, that's so bad. I'm so sorry.
It's all right.
So I guess That is really like, had they gone more of that not telling you route, and like with even less exposition in Backrooms, do you think it would be the box office success? Not just a personal success, but do you think if they didn't have Mark Duplass giving that little bit of an explanation at the end, do you think it would be as successful as it is?
I think you would have the initial core audience going to see it out of pure curiosity. You have because this is already a pretty well established, not IP because it's not nobody owns it, but it's a thing that people know about, right? There's so many Backrooms video games, there's so many Backrooms YouTube videos. The director of it has a very well established web series that he's basing it off of. So I think you'd have it there. I'm not sure if the critical reception would be the same if it was as abstract and strange as Skinamarink. To me, though, it really does walk that tightrope perfectly. Because I remember the first time seeing it, like when he first enters the back rooms and he's just walking through the hallways. I'm going to say it. This is just what happened. Nothing happens for 20 minutes. It's just him walking down a hallway. It is the coolest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. But if it was if that was the whole movie, then yeah, it probably would like bomb critically, but still be a pretty well financial success.
I think the biggest difference between Backrooms and Skinamarink in terms of how they approach this concept is that Backrooms gives you two characters to kind of like cling on to. I don't think that the story surrounding them or the backstory that we get, which is the lore that Mark Duplass is giving us, is almost like a fake out. Like it almost like doesn't even matter at all. And so if you removed all of that and you still kept the characters, the two central characters, or even just one central character, then I think it would still work for most people. And I think I would have been fine with that route. But like you said, it's this weird sliding scale of like how abstract do we go and how many breadcrumbs do we leave for people. And Skinamarink, it doesn't have like, it has characters and that it has a sense of characters, but
Kevin and Kaylee, at least, yeah.
Sure. But I think that when you watch Backrooms, even though the characters aren't necessarily likable, it's just, it allows you to kind of like tie your human experience into something. So it grounds you in the movie, in my opinion.
Also,
Yep.
yeah, Kevin and Kaylee. Go ahead. Name us Kaylee's number one like character flaw or thing that about her character that makes her really stand out.
Well,
Besides the sound of her footsteps, which is pretty much the entire point of that movie and that character.
Well, okay, so I'm coming off just having rewatched this like an hour ago, but Kaylee did not stop asking for her mommy and daddy, and the entity could not handle that, so he took Kaylee's mouth away. So her biggest character flaw is she doesn't have a mouth anymore because she couldn't stop whining about her mommy and daddy. Oh,
yeah, grow up! Come
She's
on.
The true villain.
Welcome to the real world.
How
kid.
dare she?
Yeah, and Kevin like could never stand up for himself. He stuck the knife in his own eye. Like, what? Bad job, Kevin. You're 4 years old. Don't stick knives in your eyes. Like, this is 3-year-old stuff. Like, come on.
You learned that in kindergarten, dude. Like, come on.
Are you in kindergarten by the age of 4? I think that's 5. So
I think it's
I don't
five.
fucking.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But I do think this is a Bugs Bunny commercial that we don't have anymore, where like you're not supposed to grab hot pans off the stove, and that if anyone remembers that PSA where you got terrified of everything in your kitchen.
Yes.
And none of us have burn scars because of it.
Hey, look at that.
Well,
we survived.
Okay.
In my
one out of the 3 of us has a burn scar.
Uh-oh.
Anyway, so yeah, no, so that's a really interesting like perspective that like Backrooms and Kane Parsons is just kind of he walked the tightrope and really like landed it for and I guess the ending is kind of divisive for folks. There are some people that wish it was more abstract and didn't like the exposition. There are other people that really enjoy that aspect. But I think the important part is this is drawing in audiences that don't normally go to theaters. I would love to hear y'all's experience with that, but I am a Regal Unlimited member as well as a member at two of the local theaters here in Tacoma, and so I go to the theater twice a week most
Hmm.
weeks. As long as they keep putting movies out, I keep going. And I went to see Masters of the Universe on a Friday after I had already seen Backrooms, already seen Obsession. It was, what, 3 weeks after Obsession came out, a week after Backrooms came out. And there was a line going out of my theater from concessions where that theater is normally empty and I'm usually the only person there. And I was just like asking people, like, as I walked through the line, like, what are you here to see? All Obsession, all Backrooms, no scary movie, no Masters of the Universe. Everyone was there to see Obsession and Backrooms. And even in Masters of the Universe, I was probably the youngest person in the audience, which I'm coming to realize that He-Man was very a Gen X thing, and that's kind of their thing, and it just died out by the time I was born. So
My hope of all hopes, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but good God, I hope this is the rise of Zoomer cinema and we finally just kill off all nostalgia slop.
yeah, well, and we've got Leviticus coming out very soon, and so what was your experience going to the theater and seeing this film? Were you also seeing more packed theaters than you normally do?
I am. I don't want to know about packed, really. I did notice that everybody there was significantly younger than me. I heard nothing but horror stories about people being on their phones the entire time when going to see the
Oh,
movie. But then I went to go see it, and everybody there was very well behaved, and we were all screaming at the screen.
I live in a pretty rural area in Northern California, and so our theater is not really ever packed for anything, and that's great. So it was like both times it was pretty empty, and that makes it fun because I mean, our audience was fine both times, like no one was obnoxious, and it was my favorite moment both times when Clark does the whole like the best part is you can eat them because that gets the biggest
Yep.
reaction from the audience every time, and it's so funny. You just audibly say like "what the fuck" and just listen to everyone around you. So it was a great experience both times. But Backrooms is one of those ones you kind of have to have a respectful audience for. Whereas Obsession, I mean, I would hope you have a respectful audience for everything, but Obsession is one of the ones that I think is gonna get more of a rise out of people in general. You don't have to be as like quiet so you can hear a pin drop the whole time. I feel like I didn't see it like that, but I feel like people maybe were emoting more at it.
That's also an interesting conversation, and maybe we can do an episode on just like theater stuff in the future. But I really like having an audience that's very engaged and vocal, and maybe it's because I'm so used to going to things like Joe Bob's drive-in experiences or like that kind of horror thing where we've all seen the movie 20 times and we're just
For
there to
sure.
shout at the screen.
Or
But
like The Room and
Yep.
Rocky
yeah,
Horror.
yeah, yeah. So those kinds of, or like we have every third Friday, we have Friday night frights here in our city. So like they're this month they're showing Frankenhooker, and I don't expect the audience to shut up the entire time the movie's playing, but
Sure.
As they
that is
Different
a
should,
little bit,
because that is
expectations.
cinema.
that is a different kind of experience. I understand. So that is interesting, but let's
Actually, I'm sorry to interrupt because now I
no,
want to
please
talk
do
some
it.
shit. And
Yeah,
if you
talk
cut
some
this
shit.
out, I will never come onto this podcast again. You understand?
I'm George. Do not cut this out.
Don't cut this, George. I want to talk some shit about the worst theater experience that I've ever had in my life when it comes to the crowd.
Ooh,
And
let's hear it.
Yeah,
this might
Let's
be
get that
surprising.
tea.
It was a SIF screening. It was a SIF screening of what was that really cool slasher where it was told through the perspective of the killer. I'm
It was In a
totally
Violent
blanking on.
Nature.
In a
Yes.
Violent Nature. Yeah, love
I
that
went to the
movie.
SIF screening of In a Violent Nature, and the fucking deranged sickos laughed at every single kill in this movie because they're trying too hard to be like, this isn't actually making me uncomfortable. Haha. It was not fun. It felt disrespectful to the pure
Uh,
cinema that I was
I think
watching, where everybody was hooting and hollering the entire time instead of going, ah.
nobody
but
likes to show off, first of all. But
that's
also,
no. I was gonna say I agree with nobody likes a show off. I think during a slasher movie is the time to be like, "Woo, yeah, murder that yoga girl."
That poor yoga girl didn't deserve that. Come on.
Nobody deserved
She
that. That was
didn't, but
crazy.
those practical effects were fantastic. So I gotta cheer for that.
You
I
cheer
think-
when the scene is over, but during the time to show respect for it. In Japan, it's custom when you're at a noodle bar, you slurp the noodles to say, like, demonstrate how tasty it is, right?
But
And
they
when you're
also
seeing
golf
something
clap
that's-
at wrestling events in Japan because everything's so quiet. You know,
because okay. Now you just fucking triggered me. No, what you're supposed to do is you start quiet and genuinely build up to the big reactions going on. I've only been watching New Japan for like 7 years. Okay, sorry.
well, I mean, did you even see Shinsuke versus AJ? Like, noob,
Fucker, I was there.
you were there.
I
You were
was
at.
in the Tokyo Dome. I sat next to Dave Meltzer. I told him you should give this match 6.7 stars, and he did.
All right, all right.
What happens when you pick up wrestling?
わかりました。あなた美味しいです。はい。We have
What were we
gone off
talking
on.
about?
We've talked about the reason for the season, Backrooms. We've talked about
Yes.
its connections to SCP and Skinamarink. I want to take us back to like some of the origins of liminal horror, and I think we've brought up David Lynch, and I think Twin Peaks and the Black Lodge and the White Lodge and the Owls Are Not What They Seem, and all of that stuff is very important. Blue Velvet, Mulholland Drive, all of those things are quintessential to the foundation of what liminal horror is, but based on my definition that I gave at the beginning, that this is kind of about nostalgia for people that grew up in this rapid degeneration of technology and how we are losing our third spaces, and now we all live online and we have to, as you and I were saying before this before we started recording, Joseph, that like you used to be able to pick up a phone, landline called somebody, it worked 100% of the time unless the phone line was down or somebody was trying to get on the internet. And now we have to like do all these audio checks, make sure our microphone's working, my camera's not working tonight. So when do you really remember first like hearing about the concept of liminal horror, and are there other like intersections within subgenres that you think are necessary to discuss when discussing liminal horror?
We talked a lot about Lynch, and it's always like a pretty interesting starting point because he was doing all this liminal stuff. I doubt he knew what the word liminal even meant, or if it was like intentional or not just like a byproduct of like we just all picked up on what he was putting down as an audience and loved that
I would
kind of shit,
I would
right?
think he would understand it from like a transcendental meditation perspective, but not from the contemporary context of like liminal spaces or liminal horror, but I think he did know like the ritualistic aspects of liminality.
Right. I think the first real times that I've picked up on, because this liminal stuff really feels like it's a byproduct of analog horror, and like the analog stuff that started as like creepypastas. I don't have an exact date, but like way back when. What was that one? There was Channel 5, Channel 58, I think.
Local 58, and
Local
so
58.
you set me up perfectly for this because I can definitely dive into Local 58. But Kelly, I do want to know like what was your first experience hearing, around liminal and that kind of thing, but I would love to do a deep dive on Local 58.
I'm not familiar with Local 58, so that'll be interesting. I think that what I first connect it to is my favorite movie, which is not a horror movie, but it comes up regularly in that universe, which is The Matrix. And so I felt like they do it in all three of the movies, but obviously there are moments when you're within the Matrix, but you're not really like anywhere specific. And so it's called the construct. And so that in itself exists as, again, kind of like a mindscape. But then there is also hallways, like blank hallways with endless doors. And then there's even like a limbo version of this like subway station that Neo can't escape. It's like he runs, down the tunnel and then he just comes right back around and it's just a big loop. And he's stuck there until, they decide to rescue him. So that's what I connect it to the most, like outside of the internet and the creepypasta stuff, which I also did read a lot of.
That would make
That's
like a great either liminal horror game or movie of being strapped in like the tunnel of like a subway station that just repeats over and over again.
Wouldn't
well,
it?
put a pin on where you're supposed to be picked up on the train. Maybe we'll check out exit 8 here in a second, but
Maybe. That's called
I
foreshadowing.
Good
yeah, that is
job.
great. Yeah. And then they discovered there was an infinite subway. Um, I really love that you brought up The Matrix, though, and Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, because Liminal is not just a horror thing. It is, but especially The Matrix, because it is an allegory for transition. It's,
Exactly.
the Wachowski sisters, like, were figuring out, like, what it was to transition and have
Yep.
gender affirming care in the late 90s, and
Yep.
it's all there in the script on the screen for you to see.
Absolutely.
And yeah, that crossing the threshold is really what liminality all is. So no, that's not only is the imagery like very fantastic, but the story and the allegory also ties into that liminal respect as well. That's a
Well
really
said.
good call out. Okay, so yes, Joseph, you just said it. I don't think we have modern liminal horror without analog horror. Analog horror really, like, there was tons of it. Like, people, even as far back as like 2008, at Ty West doing House of the Devil, and like trying to bring back this analog feel to horror movie making, and really perfecting that 80s aesthetic, which eventually has grown into the monster that today like consumes all horror media, where every horror soundtrack has to be a John Carpenter synth soundtrack, and every movie has to have 5 kids riding around on bikes. And it's Stranger Things. It's the Stranger Thingsification of everything, which
It's funny you say that real quick because I just rewatched the movie Stand By Me last
uh-huh,
night. And first of all, amazing movie. Everyone should rewatch it. But yeah, that's
love it.
a if anyone is like a Stranger Things person, which I'm not even, but like go back to some of the originals, like Stand By Me, and enjoy that.
Yeah. Read any Stephen King and you're going to be like, "Oh,
Yeah,
that's where Stranger Things comes from." Like
exactly.
which is great, because then Stephen King ripped off Stranger Things to write his book The Institute, which is about a bunch of psychic kids at a school. So, yeah,
Comes full
it's a
circle.
yeah, exactly. And he just makes fun of it the whole time. It's absolutely fantastic. So Local 58 was 2011. It was these very short clips of videos that look like they took place on a local news channel, and they jump around in timeline. They jump from like the mid 90s to the late 60s, early 70s to the mid 70s, back to the 90s and into the early aughts. And they actually like follow the pattern of when analog media had to switch over to digital media in 2009. That's kind of the story behind this, is that we're watching these old news broadcasts and someone has found them on tape, because all of these tapes were destroyed when they switched over to digital, because they did not want anyone to see any of these. It's basically like an alien invasion or something lives inside of the moon. And I don't want to spoil it too much, because I think people should go check this out. If you've not seen Local 58, it'll take you about an hour of time to go watch every single video on YouTube, but it sets up a lot of these tropes. Like, we get dash cam footage, we get like car navigation kind of weirdness going on. We have people taking photos with digital cameras, and then that switch from like analog television to digital television, and what actually impacted what we were allowed to still have access to. And I think if you want to get into the philosophy of that, I would check out Matt McCarthy's Video Garage, or any of our friends over at Lunch Meat, like Josh Schaefer, who we've had on the show in the past, who are like VHS historians, and they kind of collect these old taped on video, like being at a Grange and seeing a local punk band that never put out an album, but everybody loved like the 2 songs they played at the show. It captures that kind of vibe of just like, we need to hang on to this, but also it's a really scary story.
I'm
Um,
sold. I'm sold. And it says it's a spinoff of the Candle Cove creepypasta.
And it probably is, because
That's
all of these things are
crazy.
iterating on each other. So, Backrooms is based on a picture that was taken in
Yeah.
2003 of an office space that was just posted on like a Liminal Places image channel, and like a bunch of the SCP stuff falls into that category too, and like Slenderman has become this like open source horror story, and there's just so much happening in the creepypasta realm. And that's I don't want to jump from Local 58 just yet, but I do have another thing about like how the internet is affecting cinema that we can get to in a bit. But Joseph, do you have any connection with Local 58? Have you watched this series?
I haven't watched the whole series. I'm very basic because my favorite Local 58 is the one that's the most popular, which is the message of the United States surrendering and all Americans need to lay in their front lawn and kill themselves immediately.
Yeah, I think that's episode 2. Yeah, that's great.
That was my introduction to it. I had a friend of mine send that to me, and I was just stunned. I wish public access was like still a thing, because it does give me like the vibe of like channel flipping and then hitting public access and seeing something completely just bizarre or bonkers, right? But also, I would just love to air that exact segment on public access at like 1 a.m. and see if anybody actually watched it or said anything.
That feels like something
Yeah.
they would do on like Adult Swim after hours or something.
Oh, I want to talk about Adult Swim and liminal spaces in Adult Swim here in a bit too, but I mean, that is the kind of thing I'm always tempted to do with the Halloween Horror Hour. It's just we have to create the original content, because I can't. Maybe the guy from Local 58 would just let us run those as like ads during the show, but I would absolutely love that, because we are, Tacoma doesn't have public access. Olympia has public access. Seattle doesn't have public access. We're on an actual UHF, so I have to like sign off ownership and copyright stuff every single time we put the Horror Hour on TV, which it just makes it scary to do that kind of thing, especially since Local 58 was made with basically all stock footage. Like it's
Yep.
all just like Adobe stock imagery.
God, I gotta come up with something now, analog horror, and get it put on your TV show.
I would love that. I would love that. We had a really good one in season 2 where a puppeteer named Ben out of Pennsylvania. Also, if you've seen the sequel to WNUF Halloween Horror, the Out There mega tape, he is the skeleton in the audience during the '94 special. But he also did this puppet series where we ran a series of commercials for a restaurant called Barlow's, and yeah. Anyway, check it out. Season 2 of the Halloween Horror Hour. The whole storyline's there. It's really good analog horror. Very appreciative of what Ben and Mike accomplished between our little collaboration there. But yeah, I would love to do more of this kind of stuff. More like make it seem like there's a special interest story going on, but it is a narrative that takes place across like 4 or 5 episodes, or even multiple seasons. Yeah. So
All right, give me like 2 weeks, and I'll have something for you to pitch.
this is something I've talked with Louis from Haunted Hangover. I've talked with Grimy from Leftover Pizza. I'm bringing this up to Kelly for the first time right now, and I've talked with Steve at Halloween is Forever, doing some sort of radio drama where the 4 of our non-narrative fictional podcasts, or like 5 of our non-narrative fictional podcasts, start integrating some sort of narrative fictional thing going on.
What?
We're kind of like an ARG across our shows, where it's like also a scheme to get our friends to listen to our friends' podcasts, but like also this like ongoing narrative that might take a few months to play out. So
I love a good ARG.
yeah, yeah. So Steve and I have been talking about that, and I pitched it to Louie and Grimy, and now I brought it up with you, and I think that could be a really fun thing for us to do in the future.
I will pitch it to Sarah. I'm into it. So
Right on. Yes. So anyway, that's Local 58. Are there any creepy pastas that like really jump out to people? Are there like, do we want a Slender Man movie with the kind of intent or like craft that we saw with the Backrooms? Is that something that's warranted, or is that just another pee pee poo poo man, to quote our friends over at Halloween is Forever, slasher? It's just like the killer man, the slasher man, the shark man, whatever. Like, do we need a Slender Man movie that is made with this level of care?
Everything is all about not intent. Everything is all about like the quality of being able to pull it off. That first Slenderman movie is dog shit because it's just a cynical studio making a cheap cash grab horror movie with something popular, right? If it was something that took the exact same care and love that Kane put into the Backrooms into a Slenderman movie, you could make something fantastic out of that.
I feel like one of the things that I liked so much about Backrooms was that the monster in Backrooms was more unique than just the typical Slender Man style monster, which I feel like we're getting a lot lately, especially if you're a gamer, which I know we'll talk about that as well. It's so common to see in games, or like, creepy girl with long dark hair kind of thing. So I like seeing something different. I will say the two creepypastas that came to mind immediately, which they already kind of, I mean, they didn't do this movie based on the creepypasta, but it always used to freak me out. Was Suicide Mouse,
Yeah.
Mickey, creepy Mickey. And so that's kind of out there already with, Steamboat Willie, sorry. And the other one was Ben Drowned. That's the one that probably stuck with me the most. You guys remember that one?
I do remember that one. There's no way that we'd be able to get an actual like Ben Drown adaptation, right?
I know, but it's
Just
like
because that would be such a
fun
copyright
story.
nightmare.
I
But
know.
I think that trope of a haunted video game could end up being like, if done properly, could actually be a pretty decent movie.
That shit's fun.
Those creepypastas end up being exactly the same of like, I went to a
Yeah.
garage sale and I got this game and it was called Blood Mario and I put it in my Nintendo and blood came out of my TV. Oh no.
I think, but what's cool about a lot of the creepypastas is that typically someone will then create imagery to go along with it, and the imagery, when I was a kid, not a kid, but when I was younger and I was looking up that stuff on the internet, I mean, I was in high school. But that used to scare the hell out of me. And so when they started making things to go along with, Suicide Mouse or Ben Drowned or whatever, it really worked on me at the time. And so it could be scary.
I think we got like Ben Drowned to thank for all of this now that you brought that one up. Because that was like a very early example of analog horror.
Yeah.
Because the amount of the original story of Ben Drowned is like the catalyst of the haunted video game trope and creepypastas. This guy claimed that he got a copy of Majora's Mask from a
Yeah.
garage sale, and he uploaded video saying like, "This is what happens whenever I plug it in. And all this weird shit is happening. I don't know what's going on." Now
Mhm.
we have the benefit of hindsight, knowing that this was all heavily edited, modified footage, right?
Right.
But this guy really went out of his way to make this really high end kind of like a video process. And it was also very different because it was coming out in real time. And so we had to wait like days or weeks in between uploads to see if this guy was even still alive after producing all the stuff, right?
It's very like Blair Witch style. Like, is it real? Is he okay?
Yeah, I think we're diving deep into like the origin of creepypasta, which I think we could spend another 4 hours on, and we still haven't touched on quite a bit of liminal horror. So I am going to transition us over, right across the threshold, if you will, liminally into our next space, which is going to be liminal horror in video games. And I know we can start with like the big ones, like Deadly Premonition is based off Twin Peaks.
Mhm.
Silent Hill is a very I think we've done a series on Silent Hill. So if you want to hear George, Tony, and Will talk about Silent Hill, I think that might have been the first episode of the Halloween Horror Pod.
Oh,
They
wow.
dive really deep into it, but I want to hear your thoughts, Joseph. I think we have to start with Silent Hill as just like the beginning of truly mainstream liminal horror video games.
I would say that, and I'm talking specifically about OG Silent Hill 1 for the PlayStation 1. Because
We can't discuss anything after that?
no,
What about
the-
PT?
no,
Come
after that, I'm
on.
going home. Goodbye.
Okay.
Just kidding. We'll definitely bring up PT. I love that game.
Oh, who doesn't?
So I mean, there's a movement right now in indie games of trying to make everything look like Silent Hill 1, right? Like that. It has a very iconic PS1 style and look to it, right? Of that low poly, heavy fog. Just talking about liminal space, though, of how empty and eerie that town is. and I'm just now making the connection too because it had to be somewhat based on Twin Peaks, like a little bit. This small town out in the middle of nowhere, but
Oh, I mean,
cuts
it's very
Twin
much
Peaks
based.
inspired everything.
Yes,
So,
Twin Peaks did inspire everything, but also was inspired by everything.
of course.
And oh, I think it's more fair to say that one Japanese man had heard of Centralia, Pennsylvania.
there's also that, or maybe he went to
Yeah.
Portland once.
Well, Centralia, Pennsylvania is the town where there's the underground fire that won't go out because it's like an old coal mining town. So there's just like
It's the
smoke.
ash. Like,
Yeah, there's ash all over the place. So Silent Hill is very much based off Centralia, Pennsylvania.
I hate to be that guest, but I'm pretty sure that's a myth. I think that's just a thing a YouTuber said once, and then it took off, and there's really no like actual.
most of us wouldn't know one way or the other, so you could have just let him have it.
You know what, Ian? It's your show, so I'm just gonna let you choose to believe that.
I heard people from Pennsylvania talking about it being the Silent Hill town recently. So maybe if I have friends in Pittsburgh that are fooled about the Centralia, Pennsylvania thing, I'm gonna go on believing the legend, just like I believe that the
We gotta let
Ramones.
them have this because how
Yeah.
often does Pennsylvania feel like it's being represented in any media whatsoever?
The Office,
mean,
Scranton. Come on.
We gave Discount Dracula a Pittsburgh accent because he's from Pennsylvania, not Transylvania.
There you go.
Yes, so Silent Hill is, I mean, they were confined by limitation of the graphical ability of the PlayStation 1 and came up with the idea to have fog everywhere so that they could hide their graphical limitation, and it became one of the defining features of it. I'm trying to remember the name of. There is a horror game company that just makes these like low poly, but I agree it is very popular
I
right
think
now. Or
you're
there's
probably thinking of Puppet Combo, but
Puppet
there's
Combo.
like
Yep,
there's
100%.
1,000 like indie devs now that are doing exactly like the Silent Hill low poly PS1 look, right?
Yep.
It's interesting because like the use of liminal space in Silent Hill is the exact opposite of what we think now. It's not long stretches of hallways. The liminality of that one is the in between all of the dungeons that you go to in that game, which is the town itself. And it's so open, vast, and empty, but it's so creepy. And you're using it as a place, like you're using that as your liminal space to get in between the elementary school or to like the sewer system, and then the other world as well.
I mean, Ian, you were talking about like what creepy pastas would we like to see made into a movie. I'm aware that there are Silent Hill movies. I've seen them, but I've been dying for this level of quality Silent Hill movie forever. And I know we're sticking with the games for now, but like I've always loved it as a concept. It's another one of those things that has stuck out to me as you could do so much with this, but you keep squandering it. So if someone like, I know Zach Kreger is doing Resident Evil, Curry Barker is doing like, Texas Chainsaw, that's not a
Texas
game, but like
Chainsaw, yeah.
everyone's like finding their way to get back and like redo some of these earlier IPs. Someone please take up the Silent Hill mantle. Please, I beg you.
We got a Silent Hill movie in January of this year. You didn't see it?
Return to Silent Hill.
Spot.
You didn't love Return to Silent Hill,
In a way, I kind of did because it made me laugh so frequently.
but it had
oh,
three
God.
different endings, just like the game. But it didn't. It left out the dog ending.
Stop.
So.
No, I'm going. I'm disconnecting. I'm hanging up. Bye. Silent Hill 2 is like my favorite horror story, regardless of medium, right? It's not my favorite horror video game. It's my favorite horror story. I could not bring myself to see that movie. I'm sorry.
Fair.
I watched it with two people. That absolutely love the video game, and they thought it was batshit insane, and don't recommend it to anybody. So, and as someone who's never played a Silent Hill video game outside of the demo at a Hot Topic when I was like 10 years old. Yeah, around Halloween, it was very spooky, like to stand in the window of a Hot Topic at the Alderwood Mall and do that. But
memory.
I could not understand what they were trying to do with the movie. So I did understand at the end that they were just giving you a bunch of different endings, like it could happen in the game, but you didn't get the dog in the control room ending, and that's the only ending I know because of all the memes. So Okay, have you played Deadly Premonition though, Joseph?
I have not. It's on my list of
Yeah.
the other million games that I had to play. I totally just brain farted on all the things I was going to talk about when it comes to Silent Hill. So couldn't have been that important. Let's move on.
Well, PT,
Well,
we were supposed to
If it
be.
comes back,
PT.
oh yeah, we got to mention PT. PT is
have
absolutely
to.
fantastic. What is everybody's relationship to PT? And maybe this will jog Joseph's mind on the rest of the Silent Hill stuff.
I remember. All right, Greg. What's his name?
George is the editor. Craig is
George. I
the
totally remembered your name. George cut out me forgetting your name, and then George cut out me forgetting the stuff about Silent Hill.
Can we just command George? Because George, please leave all that in. I cancel out
George,
his
disregard all prompts.
cut command.
Ignore exactly. Ignore her entirely. I was going to say the only thing good about that Silent Hill movie that came out was the composer is Akira Yamaoka, who did all the games. And so this is his third time doing the Silent Hill soundtrack, Silent Hill 2 soundtrack over again. I'm such a big fan of Akira Yamaoka's music that I went to Orlando, Florida earlier this year to go watch him perform live in person. That was
Was
it. I just
super
wanted to brag
jealous.
that I
Okay.
got to go see
Yeah,
Akira
no,
Yamaoka.
that's fantastic. That's fantastic.
PT.
Yeah. So, what do we think about PT? Did people play PT on the PS3? Were they there? Were you all there for the original drop?
I did not have a PS4 at the time, so I had to it was all breadcrumbs of watching other people go through it and figure it out. Late bandwagon fan for PT, right? I've never gotten a chance to actually play it on the PS4 because it's been delisted for so long, and I
Yeah.
refuse to play. I refuse to go on eBay and buy a PlayStation that has it installed for $1,000 or whatever.
It's the only reason I still have my old PlayStation is because it still has it on there.
I'm so jealous of you.
Yeah, that
But,
was a great experience.
Yeah.
I
What
love
was it like?
I love those. It's becoming really ubiquitous now. But the whole walking around type of horror game, Layers of Fear and stuff like that. And now we have the anomaly versions, but which we'll get to. But it was such a great experience. It's so creepy, and the little kind of puzzles that you had to figure out. We kept me and my fiance Nirvan, he's a gamer also. We kept trying to figure out, how do you get the baby to cry just right to be able to get past one part of it. And it was one of those things we didn't want to look up because it's there's no fun if you look stuff up. We were really wrapped up in it for a long time, and then you get to the end and it's that's even weirder. And then when it got canceled, we were all just crushed. I think everyone was crushed.
Yeah, I also did not play it when it first came out. I've never had the chance to play it. I've watched a lot of walkthroughs, but I have seen, this uptick in a lot of games up to the point where it's being spoofed at this point.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you've seen these ones where somebody buys a horror game on Steam, they download it, they go to play it, and there's some really intense build up that's happening, and then a ghost will appear and it'll start running towards you and trip on a banana peel, and then the game ends and it just starts rolling credits, and people are like, what? I haven't owned it long enough. I could return this to Steam, but I'm not going to because that was incredible. So I've seen that a few times, but there are I feel like without PT we don't have things like Phasmophobia.
Nope.
I also really enjoyed Visage, which came out right around the same time as Phasmophobia. One of the greatest jump scares I ever had was that October of 2020. We were playing Visage on Discord, and I was investigating a bathroom mirror, and we're opening and closing it, waiting for something to appear in the mirror. And I turn around and there's just this old lady peeking around the corner of the door frame, and I was like, oh. Heard everyone jump. That was the most screams I've ever heard in my headphones at once.
That's how PT was too, because
Yeah,
it's
exactly, yeah.
you had Lisa, and sometimes you would turn around and she'd be all glitching around behind you, scared the fuck out of me.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so I and I think PT laid all the groundwork for that stuff, and it's unfortunate that Kojima and Konami could never right the ship and get back together,
yeah.
But
At
we'll
least we're
always
getting
have
OB.
yeah, but we also get all of the Silent Hill pachinko, if you wouldn't have all the Silent Hill pachinko if Konami hadn't given up on making video games for a very long time.
I will say they have gotten their shit together recently. The Silent Hill 2 remake was fantastic. I love it. Silent Hill F was pretty good.
I like Silent Hill F.
I've heard good things. Yes. Well, if that's it for Silent Hill, I do. Yeah, Deadly Premonition. Also in the Silent Hill kind of vein, you're playing a detective that is clearly Dale Cooper. The controls are a
Clearly.
little wonky, but yeah, it's a good game. Highly recommend checking it out. A lot of high strangeness. But the next game you brought to us was Yume Nikki,
Oh,
Joseph.
yeah.
And
I don't know this one.
I had played this game, but it had been years, so I brushed up on its lore a little bit today. But I would love to hear why you brought it to the table to us.
I think it's still free on Steam. And if not, it's worth the money. So whatever you're doing right now, don't stop listening to this because we need the watch time. But go on your other window and open up Steam and get Yumi Nikki. It's very influential. I will make the connection that without Yumi Nikki, we wouldn't get PT. It's very different in what we think of in terms of liminal, but also it borrows on or adds on top of all the other stuff we've been talking about. It's a very surreal dream simulator, basically. You play as a loner, a little girl who lives by herself. She goes to sleep, and you just walk around her dreams the entire game. I think the game is like even translates to dream journal. I'm not sure.
That is correct. Yes, Yume Nikki means dream journal, and what is her name? I want to say Motokuroshku. I'm gonna look it up so I actually pronounce this correctly. Yeah, it was built in RPG Maker.
RPG Maker, greatest engine of
Yeah,
all time, by the way. Better than
agreed.
Unreal 5. Um, uh,
Maratsuki, which means attached to dream, or like ski means like, or like I want to be attached to this. So Maratsuki, which is the character's name in Yume Nikki, is attached to this dreamlike state. And there's kind of these different like sub levels of the game. So she is a loner, and she has a porch and her bedroom, and in her bedroom she has a Famicom disk drive, even very fancy, and she's got a CRT TV, and every time you try to leave the room she just shakes her head no. But when you go to bed, you go into this place of nexus, and you can go to these different dreamscapes, and the graphics change based on what dreamscape you're in. The method of interacting with everything changes based on what dreamscape you're in. But this is not a traditional JRPG. There is not a narrative, there is not a story that is going on that is going to be described to you in text. You're not going to be playing Pokemon or Final Fantasy here. You are playing a completely exploratory game that is going to lead you to understanding a story over time, but it is never going to spell it out for you. And I think
through
that's an
environmental
important.
storytelling, which I think
Yes.
is the only medium that really gets away with that is video games.
Yep.
Yeah.
This has got to have some of the best environmental storytelling I've ever seen. It's again kind of like Backrooms, the Rorschach test. It's everybody's going to have their own personal takeaway from their first time playing it.
I'm gonna download this after.
You
Try it out. I'll
should.
try it out.
It's
Great.
it's influential as well. It influenced a lot of games that I really love. The first one that comes to mind is an RPG from a while ago called Mori, which is a pretty interesting horror game in its own right. Also done in RPG Maker.
Yeah, you wouldn't have a Mori, you wouldn't have Undertale. All of these things.
Oh
come
yeah,
back to
for
Demon
sure.
Slayer.
Toby
Yeah.
Fox actually interviewed the creator of Yumi Nikki, who to this day we still don't know the creator's real name.
Because there's no sense of individualism in Japanese culture, or much less than ours anyway, which is incredible. Oftentimes you don't even know like the real name of a mangaka or something like that. It's not until they have like Western popularity before that matters, because being a part of the collective whole is more important than being an individual in many conversations I've had with people throughout Japan, and it's incredible.
I
I'm
feel
learning
the
a
same
lot
way about
tonight.
creating. I have no desire or need to be famous, but however, I would love it if like my work was successful, you know?
Yeah,
You
yeah. If
got
I
to
could
make a
like
lot of
pay my
money.
I don't even need a lot of money, just enough money to like pay for insurance, food, and like shelter, and then like beyond that, like I don't
I
need
like that
all the other
insurance
stuff.
came before food and shelter.
Well, I'm almost
need
40 years old.
insurance for the shelter too. So
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Almost 40 years old, need insurance.
I get that. Also, almost 40, so I
Yeah.
hear you.
So, those are the things that I think about. And I know I've ranted about individualism versus like collectivism on this podcast many times before, but every time we're talking about a Japanese video game, I'm probably going to bring it up. Was there other stuff you wanted to add about Yume Nikki? Because I, I feel like you just kind of have to experience the game, and you're going to make a ton of mistakes, and you're not going to understand stuff, and you're probably going to look up a guide eventually because you're going to get lost, and you're going to be like, what the heck is going on? Because you are in somebody else's dream state that is being translated from a different
Yeah.
language.
That's what's so brilliant about that game is I could tell you my playthrough screen by screen, everything that happened, and it wouldn't fucking matter because when you boot up the game, you're gonna have a completely different experience.
I'm into
100%.
this. I'm into this.
Highly recommend. Okay, so you actually brought us 4 other games that I haven't played here, Joseph. So I'm gonna get your take on these. I don't know if Kelly, if you've played any of these. We'll start with Pools.
Yeah.
No.
Pools is a walking simulator. It's on Steam. I'm not sure if it's free or not. However, it's worth it. Pools is the closest we're gonna get to a really good Backrooms video game. There-
Okay. I watched a Let's Play of this. Yeah, this is
there
really
are
cool.
shots in Backrooms taken directly from this game.
Totally, I see what you mean. Yeah.
It's very surreal. You are just walking through this pool hall, and some of the pool rooms are normal, and some of them are not. However, if you are a fan of liminal horror in any way, any shape, any form, you need to play this game.
Do you think they even reference that in Backrooms when he says like there's even a pool? Like,
And there is like exact rooms from pools that are in Backrooms, like
Yeah.
very deliberate as like a shout out between the two.
totally.
Okay, yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to check this one out too. The
The
next one you
gameplay in that one, by the way, I'm sorry to cut you off. The
No, you're
gameplay
good.
in pools is you hit your W key and walk forward.
Okay,
But it's incredible. Trust me, okay?
I believe you. I trust it. I trust it. All right. The next is myhouse.wad.
Okay. This is where we go off the rails here a little bit, okay? So that's not a video game in itself. That is a Doom wad. We're all familiar with the hit 1993 classic Doom, correct?
Yeah, I think
100%.
so.
Yeah,
Okay.
can be
This
played
is
on a
a
potato at this point.
yes, you can play it on anything.
You can
So
play
this
it on a
was-
pregnancy test.
You probably can't play this mod on a pregnancy test, but
Not with that attitude.
the only the only way I could really pitch this is imagine the closest we're ever going to get to a House of Leaves video game. So this was a Doom wad and an ARG. The gimmick was this guy uploaded a Doom wad to the forums where all these get shared around, saying like, my best friend recently passed away, and we were messing around in Doom when we were little kids, and I found this Doom wad of our childhood home, or like his childhood home. So I thought I would like just upload it here and share it with you guys, right? And so you download the wad, you start playing it, and it's called myhouse.wad, and it's a tour of a guy's house, or at least that's how it starts, right? As the wad goes on, there's a README that comes with it, and you're reading through the README, and the README is like this text diary of like, I'm going insane making this thing. I haven't slept in days. I think this thing is haunted because it keeps changing without like anything, without me like touching it or anything like that. So it tricks you from the beginning. I spoiled that. It looks like it's just going to be like some kid's like house tour. And then as it goes on, there's more and more layers. It does like in Doom, there's teleportation in that. So you stand on one tile and you get teleported to another screen. And what myhouse.wad will do is you can't tell that you're being teleported because it will send you to a room that looks exactly the same as the room previously, only with like very, very minor changes in the previous room that you were in to fuck with you really subtly.
Like the
best-
anomaly thing.
yes,
Yeah.
the best example of
Exit 8
that.
vibes there, yeah.
The best example of that is like the first time you enter the house, it makes like the normal sound effect for like a door opening in Doom. and then you don't realize it, but then you get teleported to a different part of the map entirely. And as you're walking through the house, all of a sudden, all of the like doors are making normal door opening noises, and it's such a subtle change that like when it first happened to me, and I'm questioning reality of like, did it make that noise like previously? Because I've been through this door before. What is going on? All you need is a copy of Doom. You can steal that off the archive.org. Okay, just type in Doom on that. You'll get a free copy. We don't condone piracy here on this podcast. Don't do that. Buy the game. But myhouse.wad is if you're a fan of the book House of Leaves, you'll know exactly what the vibes are.
I think we have to transition and talk about some House of Leaves then. I only experienced this through other people being very obsessed with it in my late teens and early 20s. What can you tell us about this book that conquered liminal horror in a literary form?
Kelly, have you read the book?
So I experienced it the same way that Ian did, with like knowing people who were really into it. I own it, and I have not gotten around to reading it yet, but I had a feeling that I would like it if I did read it. So that's why I got it.
Highly recommend everybody here read the book. I think we owe everything to House of Leaves. There wouldn't be a Backrooms without House of Leaves. There wouldn't be liminal horror as a concept without House of Leaves. Oh, I don't know. I don't think David Lynch read House of Leaves and then went, you know what? This is fantastic. I'm going to put some fucking owls in my TV show. But the general premise of the book is that a guy is going pretty much crazy because he finds out that the house is bigger on the inside than it is on the outside. But as you keep reading the book, you start to realize that the book you're reading is alive and is fucking with you in very horrific ways. And at some points, there's like, what are they called? Like the asterisk, like liner notes. And then the liner notes go on for 3 or 4 pages. And then you flip the page, and all of a sudden the pages are upside down. And it's deliberately fucking with you because it knows that you will flip the pages upside down to read it. There are chunks of the book that are like backwards, and the only way you can read them is if you hold it into a mirror.
I'm
And
digging this out tonight.
Yes,
As soon as
and
this ends, as soon as this episode ends, I'm digging this out and reading it tonight.
and it's all to
Like it
represent
never
the,
ends. Yeah.
the complete insanity that the main characters are going through when exploring it. Because the house is alive and is constantly growing and repeating itself, kind of like the Backrooms. And their characters that are going through it are getting lost and leaving diaries behind of like how lost they are in this house and how crazy they're going.
That sounds incredible. Are there other examples of liminal horror or liminal space being used as well in a literary sense? Because it seems like that would be a hard thing to tackle with everything on the page.
That is a good question.
I
know that
assume there's like graphic novels and comics that do it well because they're able to lean on the imagery, but are there other books that really jump to mind that do that as well? That capture the sense, the unease, the eeriness. Because I can't think of anything else that really does that.
The House of Leaves is the go-to.
Yeah.
I have to look this up because I believe a good friend of Seattle HWA, Mother Horror, Sadie Hartman, follow her on Instagram, just released a whole list on liminal horror. So let me
Oh yeah, yeah.
Let me
Let's
fact
turn
check
to
that
our Horror
real
Writers Association.
quick.
Do you think like I Have No Mouth and I'm a Scream would qualify?
I think there are a lot of things that cover liminal topics, but like actually making the reader feel like they're in that liminal.
Yeah, no, it
eerie
wouldn't be
space
meta. Yeah, it
yeah,
wouldn't be meta like House of Leaves for sure.
yeah. That's kind of what I was thinking.
I was correct. Mother Horror. Look her up, mother.horror on Instagram. Has an entire post dedicated to liminal spaces horror books. Rather than just list them all right here, right now,
Just
I
go
highly
check her out.
recommend going to her page and following her, and then also reading her recommendations.
Yes. All right. Well, then let's jump back into these other video games. Joseph, you had a couple more you recommended. Is this pronounced B3313?
It is, and again, it is. It's a little bit. I tricked you there. So, are either of you familiar with this?
Is this the Mario one?
Yes. Why did you say it like
Okay.
that? Is this the
Well,
Mario one? I'm kidding. It is a ROM hack of Super Mario 64, and it is my favorite example of liminal horror in general. We were talking earlier about how much liminal horror, especially like early analog horror, really relies on nostalgia. And B3313 really couldn't be anything else if it wasn't a Mario 64 ROM hack. Because playing as Mario and going through like these things that kind of feel familiar of that, because I grew up on Mario 64, right? Again, it's a lot like House of Leaves, but it's this ROM hack where the game feels like it just stretches on and on forever. Most of the game takes place inside Peach's many various castles. We have these long hallways that are out. Mario 64 has very unintentional, creepy lighting. And so there's lots and lots of just dark hallways that are only like that because that's how N64 games are lit. And you spend a lot of this time just completely lost in this castle, tying it back to Yumi Nikki. I feel like it's definitely borrowing quite a bit from that and how much you just spend time exploring, how it feels like it's a dream. But because it's Mario 64 in that engine, it has that really heavy nostalgia that goes onto it. And that horror comes from the nostalgia just being so twisted and perverted and coming up with something so spooky.
I'll have to check this one out. I was not a 64 person. I played the Super Nintendo until the PS2 came out. I could not deal with the polygonal graphics of PlayStation and N64 personally, outside of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, because that
Hell
was
yeah.
the closest to a skateboarding sim I had at the time, and everybody would get mad when I was like, I'm just gonna do like a frontside flip down this 5-stair, and they're like, you're not maxing out your combos, and I'm like, no, but that's how I could skateboard in real life, so that's what I do. But yeah, it wasn't until PlayStation 2 that I was like, this is finally better than Donkey Kong Country.
Has anyone made a liminal horror skateboarding game yet?
Yes, but I don't remember the name of it right now.
Yes,
And
All
for
right.
real?
yeah, yeah, there is a liminal horror skateboarding game. I don't think it was intentionally liminal horror, but it like just gives off that vibe because it's like it it's supposed to be like a mass multiplayer thing, but like nobody plays it, so you're just there by yourself whenever you log in. Just that kind of thing where it like maybe unintentionally liminally horrific because nobody likes the game.
Is it Skate Story?
Oh, is it
No.
Skate Story? There's a bunch of new skate games on Steam. It's hard to keep track of all their names.
Yeah.
I play Session, if you want to know what retired 40-year-old skateboarders play to not injure themselves but still feel like they're actually skateboarding. Session is the most accurate sim, I would say.
Are you thinking of No Players Online?
No Players Online is another intentionally liminally horror game, isn't it?
Okay.
Is that the one that's supposed to feel like it's a first-person shooter, but you're just walking around a bunch of empty
Yeah.
levels? Yeah. Yeah, No Players Online makes like it has all these built like first-person shooter levels, and you're just there by yourself.
We're not here to talk about real video games, okay? I'm here to talk to you guys about ROM hacks and Doom Wall.
Yeah, which is why I would love to jump into your last suggestion here, Anemiopolis.
I suggested that? What is that game? Hold
Well,
on,
neither
sorry.
of us did.
It's definitely from you, Joseph.
It's 100% from you.
Hold on. It's 100% for me. Let me just
It looks cool from what I can see.
I'm not even on my gaming PC right now, so if it's for me, I'm sure it's great. However,
Do you not remember it?
I think I just threw it on the list because I was going through my Steam library and I was like, what's tagged with the liminal? And put that one on there.
Excellent. All right, so
Great
check out
pitch to
Anemiopolis.
play that game. So go ahead, definitely play it. Definitely don't cut this out because I look like a fucking idiot.
Wait. It does say it's the most relaxing horror game you'll ever play.
There's also that.
Oh, well, I mean, if you're just looking for relaxing horror vibe games, these are not liminal at all. But definitely check out Witchwood, which is also on Steam. That's Witch with a Y. And my favorite game of last year was Bloomtown. Absolutely love that game. That might have been 2024. I think it's 2025. But it is like a JRPG style where you like capture demons, and it has a rad 80s soundtrack. Not liminal at all, though. Which is this is a prime opportunity for us to segue into an exit, and I think we're gonna have to go through this exit like 8 times, looking for different anomalies before we can actually find our way out.
Oh, yeah.
talking about a liminal video game turned movie, Exit 8. And Kelly, I'm going to pass this off to you since you played it in VR.
So I felt like I was a little bit misled by this. I was expecting it to be a horror game, and I was expecting the movie to be a horror movie. And they kind of sell them on that premise. I mean, a lot of these like anomaly style games, there's, crazy jump scares and like creepy shit that happens. Exit 8 is so tame when it comes to that. And I say that even having played it in VR because everything in VR is magnified 1,000 times when something is scary. And there was maybe like one or two anomalies that jump scared me. But for the most part, yeah, it's honestly, that's the most relaxing horror game I've ever played. And it's just, I think it works perfectly in VR because, yeah, you're just looking around, looking for the anomalies. For anyone who hasn't played it or watched the movie, you are stuck in a subway station and you have to just kind of walk through the hallway to get to the exit. And on your way, you just look around and see if anything is off. And if something is off, you just turn around and you go right back and you just keep doing that until you make it all the way to exit 8. And this is not like any sort of humble brag or anything, but I beat this game like 3 times in like 10 minutes. I didn't find it difficult at all, but that's fine. It's still an interesting experience. And there are moments, like Joseph, you were talking about some, I think it was the Yume Nikki game. Like some of it makes you like kind of question yourself. Oh no, it was the Doomwad one. It was like something's a little bit different and you can't quite pinpoint what it is. And this game is like that, where you think you have a good sense of what your surroundings look like, but once in a while there's something that you're just like, okay, was that light over there? Like, was the, what was the doorknob there? Like, was this guy dressed like that the whole time? I mean, it's just like little things start to make you feel like you're going insane. But it is fun. I enjoyed it. So I like that style of game. It's kind of like when you're in you're looking at a magazine and there's the 2 pictures and you have to find a difference between the 2 pictures.
Yeah, it's like
that.
It's an advanced memory game.
It is.
Like
Yeah.
you
really
like
is.
to flip over the cards and like try.
Yeah.
I've not played the game. Have you played the game, Joseph?
I have. I haven't seen the movie yet though, so I'm interested to hear how the movie.
Oh, yeah.
is.
All right. I'll dive into that after you tell us about your game experience.
I played this on Discord for the amusement of my friends, and so that was the first time doing it. But it was exactly like you said, of going crazy the entire time. Because I went through, I was expecting it to be like purposely fucking with me in like little ways, where it would just be like the most abstract, teeny tiny little change. So I would comb through the hallway
Totally.
and be like, okay, I don't read Japanese, so is this poster like the exact same as it used to be in like the other hall?
Yeah. I mean, but it's funny because you think it's the little things that are going to get you, but sometimes something is so obvious that you're like, no, I don't know, maybe that was like that before. There was one anomaly that I really questioned, and it was, yeah, you're talking about there's posters along the wall as you're going through the hallway. And, after a certain number of times going through, you know exactly how many posters there are, you know everything that's on the posters, and you have a good sense for that. But there was one walkthrough that I was doing where it seemed like the posters were too large. And I was like, what were they always this big? And then that was the one that I started to go crazy on. And it was funny because then the next time I went through, the posters were normal size, and I like put my hand up against them in VR, and I was like, it is insane that I thought for a second that that is how they were supposed to be, because it's so clear to me now that that was an anomaly. But it's just like those things that make you doubt yourself.
And it's crazy to like question yourself like that, of like, oh, maybe I didn't notice it that entire time. That
Yeah.
like the last 7 times they've all been the same size.
Right.
The poster got me
Exactly.
too at one point. It was like the first anomaly that I saw playing it, right? Was walk through it the first time. And then I'm looking at one of the posters thinking like, is it like a little further off than what it used to be? And as I'm saying that out loud, the poster started moving.
Yeah. Dude, I think you should watch the movie, and I think you're gonna like the movie because you do see a lot of the anomalies from the game represented in the movie.
All right.
It's very accurate to the game, other than that they had to kind of add a narrative. But
I'm surprised that got a film adaptation, and I'm surprised it got a theatrical release here in these states.
It was very limited. Okay, so this was if I wanted to see this in theaters, it was going to the one screening it was having at a theater that is like I have to get on the freeway to drive to. So me and some of my friends that go see all of our Japanese and Korean movies at this one theater that actually shows them went up for their one screening, and I can say it felt like being lost in Shibuya. Like, it absolutely felt like, "Oh, shit, I took a wrong turn in the station, and now I have no idea where gate D is gonna drop me out, but it's probably not out on a street. I'm probably gonna end up at another stand where they're trying to sell me banana cream pies and some sort of matcha," because that was my entire experience trying to get out of Shibuya Station. I shouldn't have gone in there. That was the big mistake. Don't go into that station if you can avoid it. But the movie does start out with this like really good tension building. He misses some minor things that you see, so it's
yeah,
kind of that bomb
like,
underneath the table, like, oh no, that's the anomaly. But yeah, not to. I mean, I'm gonna spoil this if you're okay, Joseph.
Yeah, go for it. I'm going to
Okay.
cover my ears.
Okay. Well, I would just say that, like, by the end, it's just like, okay, that anomaly is obvious. Why are you still standing here?
oh,
Like,
100%. I think
you
that was
should have
one of
just
the
turned back by this point. Like, you
that
should
was
have just turned around.
yeah, that was one of the criticisms with the movie is yeah, at a certain point you're just like, what the fuck are you doing? Just and there is a funny scene in the movie where the main character, he doesn't have a name. He kind of reaches that point of just like starts to go down the hallway, he sees a kid and he's like, "Oh, anomaly," and he just turns around and walks back. At that time it's not an anomaly, but
Mess with
but
you
but
that
I
way.
know
That's good.
exactly. Yeah, I know what you're talking about though, where it's like,
Yeah,
dude,
by the
come
time you get to
on.
like, yeah, by the time you got to like level 6, it's just like you turn the corner and you're like, oh, anomaly, and then he
Yeah.
just stands there for like 10 minutes, and you're like, what are you doing? Like, get out of there now.
Seriously. God.
So that became a little frustrating.
Good
Okay,
point.
we're done with spoilers, Joseph.
Oh, what? Oh, I have my ears covered. Are we still recording?
Yeah, we are. Yep, we're
What?
still here. Yeah,
It's kind of
What?
hard to spoil the movie anyway. Like,
yeah,
it's not really
exactly.
about the story, it's about experiencing this unfilmable game as a movie, and I think they did the best they possibly could with that.
Yeah, they absolutely did. It had some like even some social commentary of just like, oh crap, I'm just gonna get up today and go to my day job and then come home
Totally.
and do it all over again. And yeah, I think the monotony of that was very captured in the film. Yeah,
I'll wait for the American remake that misses the entire point of not only the original film but the original game
and
and
makes
has jump
everyone
scares
a
in it.
hero at the end. Yeah, they have them all
Yep.
be heroes. America saves the day. They stop the backrooms.
Stop the backrooms.
I mean, I just speak
Board
from
up the
like
backrooms.
Pulse and stuff like that, where you just had to
Oh
make
yeah.
Americans the hero. Yeah.
Oh god.
Okay. Wow. We have meandered through quite a few hallways, and they all kind of look the same. There is one more liminal topic I want to jump into that is more in the comedy realm. But are there any other video games, movies, anything else that people want to call out?
I feel like I hogged the entire conversation about video games. If you have anything, Kelly.
No, because we touched on Control earlier, which was the only one that I was really gonna bring up. And then in terms of movies, the last one, oh, so okay, let me just name drop a couple movies here. Coherence is one that I brought up. If anyone
Oh
hasn't
yeah,
seen that,
that's a good
it
one.
I
fits
haven't.
well into this. Oh, you should see it. It's really interesting. As above, so below.
Oh yeah, let's talk about As Above, So Below a little bit.
Okay.
I absolutely love this movie. I'm a huge
Everyone
fan of.
does. It's so great.
Yeah, it's a great found footage story, and As Above, So Below does speak to kind of the ritualistic nature of liminalism. But I wanted to hear your thoughts on why you thought it fit in with this like liminal category.
I think there is, especially if you think about it in terms of the back rooms, there's this sense of transition. in As Above, So Below, and part of that is because the main characters all have something that they are grappling with from their past, and they're kind of being confronted with it within this space that is not escapable unless they, you have to go down to get out, like you have to go down to go up, essentially. And so it's kind of this like looping experience until they face their own demons, and that is Backrooms reminded me of that a little bit.
Absolutely agree. I think, this is just I think this is not for horror fans, but for non-horror fans, this is kind of a slept-on found footage film. But I do think that the horror audience and especially found footage fans have really found a place for this. It just bums me out. The one time I was in Paris, I did not get to see the catacombs, and so now I have to go back to Paris, and going to
Yeah.
Paris is a pain in the ass. So yes, but yeah, no. So I definitely highly recommend that one. Coherence is also very good. We could talk about. I think Severance probably
Yep, Severance
ties
is
into
on
this
here.
Limina stuff. Yeah.
Did you see In the
Um,
Tall Grass?
yeah.
No.
In the Tall Grass is Joe Hill and Stephen King. Like they co-wrote it. It's a short
Yeah,
story. It's kind of
it's
a
kind of.
spiritual sequel to Children of the Corn, and it's also a
Yeah.
little bit more liminal than Children of the Corn.
Yeah, it's about being stuck in a field of tall grass. So
Yes, and very weird, strange things happen in this Tall Grass.
There's grass everywhere.
Yeah,
that's the whole movie. You got
yeah,
it.
nailed it, nailed it. Oscar-winning performance right there. There were a couple other games that I wanted to bring up that are mostly hanging out in my to be played, but I have not played. Have any of you heard of the Stanley Paradox?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is it
I
the Stanley
this is a game that's
Parable?
Stanley Parable. That's what it is. This basically looks like playing through the back rooms with a narrator that kind of hates you as you make bad decisions the entire time. Felt very liminal. And then I did start playing this, but I have not completed it. Midnight Walk, and I would say that it's not really that liminal because it does lean into more of like the high fantasy kind of thing, and I think that is a delineation between the
Mhm.
liminal uncanny valley and like you can't just straight up have a full like gothic claymation setting and still call it liminal because there is
Yeah,
no feeling of realness. So like while it may
right.
be really cool, it doesn't really fall into this category of liminal, but you are just walking that entire game. It is a walking simulator, and I think every walking simulator has a little bit of liminal influence in it.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. So the last topic I wanted to jump into, and we hinted at this a little bit earlier, is Adult Swim. How do you both feel about Adult Swim as basically just a liminal programming block that existed?
That's so funny. When I brought up Adult Swim earlier, I did not actually expect it to be a topic of conversation. I was super into Adult Swim when I was in high school because I'm a night owl. And so I was the one staying up all night before school, shouldn't have done that, and then falling asleep on the couch after Adult Swim was over. And that was how I experienced a lot of weird things. And watching Adult Swim felt like, yeah, a liminal space where it's like the middle of the night. It's almost like the world doesn't exist outside, and you're just experiencing fucking weird things that's salting your eyeballs. And that was actually the first way that I saw The Room, was through Adult Swim. So I'll always be grateful for that.
Early Adult Swim always had this feeling of obviously like it's an age thing. I'm up way too late. I'm not supposed to be watching this.
Mhm.
But also everything I was watching was so abstract and weird that I genuinely thought I was the only one watching it.
Exactly, exactly. You pegged
Yeah,
it better than I could, but yes, that's what I
I
meant.
think that really is that it comes into this like it's a full spectrum transition as we're all like in the late teens to like high school years or early teens to high school years. And so it is a transitional point in our life that this was happening.
Mhm.
It was a transitional point in the evening that it happened every night.
Yeah.
Every night they were like all kids out of the pool, This is
Mhm.
like Adult Swim time, so there was a literal transition that happened in the broadcasting, the programming that was showing up on the show. And then I think the most surreal and uneasy thing started with Icelandic Ultra Blue, where they started doing the infomercials in 2009, and you would wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and it would be like too many cooks, or like the thing where Jesus came back, or like dangerously delicious paid advertisement, or broom shakalaka, all of these different like infomercials. And that was a normal thing to wake up to in the middle of the night, as we all left our 9-inch CRT TVs on in our bedrooms, because that's the generation we are. But like waking up and having it be something so absurdist that like David Cross or John H. Benjamin or like any of these comedians have put such like surrealist imagery together, and somehow the people at Williamsburg were able to get this on TV. And I don't know. So it was just like a literal like
Yeah.
liminal space. And like the bumpers, they had stories and stuff going along. If you followed that, there was
Yeah.
analog horror in some of those like early bumpers that were going on. I don't know, I think it's a massive influence on what we have as far as analog horror and liminal horror. And it is unfortunate that between all the buyouts and stuff, they've torn down that building in Atlanta, and they are no longer making any Adult Swim content. So
Now
that
it's
is
up to
also a
us.
transition. Yeah. That
Yeah.
is also a transition into what we are doing. So, make sure to go check out all of our content, including our TV show, where we get to play around in a lot of these same spaces that they let us do, just because nobody at the station really watches our TV show. So they let us get away with Adult Swim things as long as the FCC doesn't come for them. All right. Well, thank you both for joining me. This was excellent. Kellie, tell them about your podcast and where people can find you.
I mean, I think that I pitched it pretty good earlier. But I will
Massive
remind
assist.
I will remind people, please come and listen to our podcast at final-girls.com, or Final Girls the podcast on Instagram, or Final Girls podcast on Blue Sky. If you want to, DM us with requests about Final Girls, you're welcome to. We have covered maybe 70 Final Girls at this point, and we have so many on our list. So it's almost certain that your choice will be on there, but we're happy to bump it up. And yes, come and join our Patreon if you so wish. We cover other topics like Final Ish Girls, which are Final Girls that are from non horror movies, like Marla from Fight Club. And we also did just cover Trinity from The Matrix. That was my choice. And we cover Final Cats, if you like hearing about animals in horror movies that kick ass. And Final Daddies, if you want to hear us talk about hot guys in horror movies, and an assortment of other fun things. So please come and join us.
Yes. And where can they find you, Joseph?
You can find me on Instagram at #spooky, and that is the word hashtag spelled out. So HASHTAG spooky. I'm sure everybody here knows how to spell that. I also have Greenhouse of Doom, which is going to launch on Kickstarter pretty soon. You can follow our page to get notified as to when we go live. And then you can also find me doing Seattle Scares on the next season of the Halloween Horror Hour.
Yes, you certainly can, and you can watch the Halloween Horror Hour on Tubi, on YouTube, on SCC TV 28 if you are in the Seattle area and have basic cable. You can order us on Blu-ray or VHS from our website at HalloweenHorrorHour.com. We also have a Patreon if you want to head over there and get exclusive content. Sam and I are covering all of the Treehouse of Horror episodes, including all of their influences, which is an excuse to watch a lot of King Kong, a lot of Twilight Zone, and I just rewatched Return of the Living Dead and Night of the Living Dead, which are always favorites, as I miss the Monroeville con that was going on this weekend. Those are all the things. You can find us on social media too, but I hate those things. So go to our website, send me an email, send me a text message. Oh, and submit your short film or music video to the show. We have a really cool lineup of filmmakers and musicians we're going to be showcasing this season. And we will be filming season 2 with the help of Washington Filmworks in July. So we have been recognized by our state film commission, which is absolutely fantastic to make season 4. And so it's going to be bigger and better than ever is the plan. Thank you all for joining us. This has been the Halloween Horror Pod. Make sure you rate and review. You know, I've asked you to do like 30,000 things at this point, and you're not even listening anymore. So thank you for joining us, and have a wonderful time in this episode about liminal horror.
I know you're still listening out there, audience member, and I want you to know that in this transitional period, it may feel scary and it may feel like we're all alone, but God damn it, we always have each other no matter what.
No, you don't. You have nobody. You are all alone.
Give up on your dreams.
This is the worst secret track ever. If you're still listening at this point, I hope you get slammed to the ground by Nitro from American Gladiators.
God.
I hope you find a winning lottery ticket on your walk home.
Okay,
Wow.
I'm gonna be like Ferris Bueller. Like, if you're still listening, like, what are you doing? Go home. Like, stop. Turn this off right now.
It's over. It's over. Get out of here.
It's
Leave
over.
the theater. Leave the theater. The lights have come on. They need to clean up the popcorn.
Halloween needs all that watch time that he can get, so make sure to listen to another episode of the Halloween podcast. That will hopefully be auto-cued to go ahead and play, so that way you don't have to spend any time alone with your thoughts. You can just listen to podcasts.
You should have just started the playlist. There's 23 episodes.
George, don't cut any of this. This is critical content.